Good morning, Mr. Mark. Welcome to the Eastern Business Report. How are you doing?
Well, good morning, Informa. Nice to have you here.
All right. How is the investment environment in Anambra State generally?
It's pretty interesting and pretty optimistic, looking forward and looking good. I think when my team and I came in about 7 months ago, we inherited an agency that had been here for about 9 years, but I believe its focus was purely on receiving help, hand-holding investors and bringing them in and helping them set up, right? But under the Governor Soludo sort of administration, his manifesto, which is called the People's Manifesto, he made very clear commitments on what he wanted from this agency. He wanted us to expand our scope, i.e., so rather than just hand-holding investors, he wanted us to support identified critical infrastructure projects that are transformational to Anambra's economic landscape, projects such as industrial parks, power projects, major toll roads, gas pipelines, major housing projects. And on these projects, rather than sitting back and waiting for investors to key in, he wanted us to conceptualize them, do all the feasibility studies, get them to a point where they're bankable and ready for private sector investment and engagement. So that's essentially what we've tried to do. But over the last 7-8 months, we've closed at least 6 or 7 different real estate projects. We're about to close a project for the Oka shopping mall. So for those from Anambra, you're really getting expo here. It's going to be a 5.7 billion naira investment. We're going to be building the solution Fun City, which will be an amusement park in Oka. And all of this really is to support the agenda that the governor has set in place. It's a 3-pronged agenda to make Anambra a livable, prosperous and industrious homeland. And to achieve all of these, there are certain projects that must be done, and those projects must be in partnership with the private sector. And that's essentially why we're repositioning my agency. The agency in its current name is the Anambra State Investment Promotion and Protection Agency, but that will, over the next 1.5 to 2 months, transition into the Anambra Development and Investment Corporation. So we're currently going through quite a lot of reform from a recruitment standpoint, identifying the right talent to help us drive this agenda, and going heavy on strategic communications, holding webinars and different marketing initiatives, just to continue to build awareness and to raise the awareness essentially of what we're doing in Anambra State. And all of this will ultimately culminate in an investment summit, which we hope to hold on September 7th, where we'll be bringing the entire world to Anambra State, all the DFIs, the bank CEOs, the major corporations, private sector organizations, governments across all levels, from federal government to subnationals, to discuss the Anambra opportunity. How can we all work together? How can we get them to key into some major investment opportunities that we'll be looking to showcase on that day? But these are many more, and we're very busy. But in my mind, this is the sort of mindset and drive that we need to bring to government business.
Just recently you engaged the Anambra community in Lagos. What was the outcome of that engagement, and how was the whole reception of that particular engagement and discussion? And of course, people have been concerned a bit about security within the region and even in Anambra State. So how do you intend to also attract investment and pull people over even with all of these challenges?
No, excellent question, Informa, and it's a question I actually expect. Over the years, before I would say the NSAS, sort of era, Anambra was was the safest state in Nigeria. Post NSAS, there were security breaches across the region and across the country, obviously. And what that had done is that quite a number of local governments were under attack. In fact, the current governor came on board, and about I would say 20 out of 21 local governments were seen as red alert. But today we have a situation where it's down to one local government, right, which borders one of our sister states in the region, which is obviously stresses the need on regional policing and regional security architecture being coherent and consistent across board. But what has the governor done? He's done quite a lot. In addition to supporting, obviously, the traditional and conventional forms of security, he's re-equipped, rehired, expanded the scope of community policing. So now there's a lot of exchange of intelligence between the community police and the conventional, obviously, security agencies, as the case may be. So quite a lot is being done. And I believe over the next couple of months, you can see from what is happening, some of the busts that are going on, that the state is going to go back to its current security state. But I think I will also use this opportunity to make a point and probably call young men and women who find themselves on social media sharing a number of different videos. Quite often, some of these videos are from 5-6 years ago. Sometimes some of these videos are even movies, parts of movies, except for movies, and you see the tagline, oh, this is what is going on in the Southeast. We ultimately are the ones that lose when we push the wrong narratives. I understand for on and live and on the spot reporting, but it's also important to ensure that what we're reporting is actually true, and to also ensure that we're pushing the right narrative that enables us create Anambra and the rest of the Southeast as a destination for investment. Because if there is no investment into the Southeast, ultimately jobs and opportunities will reduce for the people who are here.
That's a very salient point that you have just made. It's very important because sometimes people think the whole region is burning and, you know, it's all just not safe, but it's not true. We're still here doing business. We're still here even giving reports as media people, and a whole lot is still happening. Now, coming to that, just give us an insight just before we round off on the current status of the Onitsha River Port. It's been on the news for a while now, and everybody is very expectant, especially the business community. What's the current status, and what are we to expect in few weeks and months to come?
Okay, so I'll try and be very quick here, but I think it's important to understand the background. Let's all just, history is there for us to see. In 1983, the Shagari government constructed and commissioned this port. In 2015, the Goodluck government and the President Goodluck government also rehabilitated and commissioned this port. Last year, it was concession and then commissioned again, right? So commissioning essentially is not what will get this port operational. It is the dredging of the river, right? If the River Niger is not dredged all the way from perhaps even down from Lagos or on a port all the way in rivers, ultimately, we cannot fully optimize this port. 1 million containers come in every year into the country. 70% of those containers cross the Niger Bridge. It costs way more to move cargo from Lagos to Onitsha than it costs to move cargo all the way from Beijing or any port city in Asia down to Lagos. So ultimately, we must look inwards and identify ways to transform this space. What is holding this back? It's the dredging. If it's dredged, it's not just Onitsha that benefits. In fact, you open up Imo, you open up Lokoja, which is Kogi, you open up all the way to Niger State, Abuja, you open up Edo State, and Delta, all of those states that sit along the banks of the River Niger. Everywhere else in the world, when you have inland waterways like this, it screams opportunities, it screams prosperity, it screams development. So I cannot stress it enough how important it is to dredge the Niger so that we can fully optimize this investment. The second point I'd like to make, which I believe is not made often, is that quite often between the months of September to December, we would complain about flooding. And most times it's the flooding of the state that are on the River Niger and on the River Benue. If we can get these things and focus on this project and execute it, decisively, it also not only does it support the economy on those rivers, which is the ports and what have you, but it also addresses some of the flooding concerns that are perennial and we continue to face.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you for the insights that you have shared. We'll definitely engage you more on this particular matter.